Hi, I'm Neil, and this is Man with a Music Minute, the podcast where I discuss music videos 1 minute at a time. Starting with Dziga Vertov's 1929 film Man with a Movie Camera, with a soundtrack by the Cinematic Orchestra. Hi, this week I'm going to be introducing the podcast, talking about the concept and the movie that we're going to be discussing. And to do that, I've got my first guest, who is my son, Dylan.
Hi,
Dylan.
I'm Dylan. Just an introduction to me. I like theater, drama, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, that's about it.
Yep. And how old are you?
16, turning 17 soon.
Very soon. Exciting stuff.
Yeah.
I can't believe that you're 17 already. That's crazy.
Yeah, I can't either.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about a minute of a movie. So there's over 200 movies by minutes podcasts.
Yeah,
So
wow.
what do you know about movies by minutes?
Mostly just like the basics. I know they review movies by minutes. But other than that, not much really.
Okay. Do you know what the first one was?
Ever?
Yeah, the first one. Well, the first one to become popular.
Right. The only one that comes to mind is Star Wars Minute, but
Yep.
yeah, I've got no clue.
That's the one. Yep.
Oh, nice.
So Pete and Alex from Star Wars Minute. They say that there was another one before, but it didn't go the full film, and it wasn't that popular. But they had Star Wars Minute. It was a huge success, and it started a trend. Like I say, 200 podcasts in. It's probably a lot more than that now. And it's one more now that we're recording this one.
Yeah.
So you can go to moviesbyminutes.com and check out the full list. Just go along, find your favourite film. One of my favourites is the Cornetto Minute, which is the films of Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. So they did that quite a while ago, and that was a few years ago now, but that was one of my favourites because it's my favourite films. And it was a group of Americans talking about a British film, so that was quite funny. All the different cultural things. And often these podcasts have a really good social group on Facebook. And Star Wars Minute has the listeners hub on Facebook, and it's really good. They just have loads of silly memes from the podcast. It could sound a bit dull just talking about 1 minute of a film for half an hour or so, but they just come out with so many silly jokes and, talk about the characters. Like they always talk about C-3PO as being Golden Tony and stuff like that because Anthony Daniels played C-3PO.
Right.
So just silly little things like that, and there's lots of memes that are in the group. So I'm hoping that if our podcast is a success, we'll get a good social group going and people talking about the movie. Because to me, this is just an amazing film, and I'm amazed that so many people have never heard of it. So we're talking about Man with a Movie Camera. So you've never seen it. What do you know about the film so far?
Not much. I know that it's Russian, I believe, and it's about a man with a movie camera, but other than that, yeah, not much.
That's a good start. Yep, it is about a man with a movie camera. His name was Dziga Vertov. I've asked in the local community for anybody who's Ukrainian. It's not Russian, it's Ukrainian. I want to know how to pronounce his name properly, and all the names that come up in the movie. I'd love to get some coaching on how to pronounce it all.
Right.
So yeah, he's a Ukrainian guy who basically took footage from a few different cities and edited it to make it look like a day in the life of one city, basically. And I think it's his brother-in-law, filmed him making the movie. So it shows him as the man with the movie camera taking all of this footage. So it's kind of meta, and it was made in 1929, so it was pretty ahead of its time, really.
Yeah.
And then his wife, I forget her name, but it comes up in the minute. She edited the footage, so there are scenes of her editing the footage, and then you see the still frames, and then magically they come to life. It's just amazingly well done, and the amount of effects that he invented that people had never seen before. Basically, it makes me feel like it's an hour-long music video. So I started this podcast because I love music videos, and I really want to talk about music videos of all sorts. But to do that, I'll combine it with a Movies by Minute podcast and talk about 1 minute of Man with a Movie Camera every episode.
Yeah.
So we can start off just by watching the minute all the way through, and we'll read out the subtitles because this minute doesn't have any music. It's just silent and subtitles in, I think there's 2 languages. I think it's Russian and Ukrainian. I did say he was Ukrainian, but I think some of it was filmed in Russia and some of it was filmed in Ukraine. I'm not really sure. Hopefully we'll get some experts in to talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll set it up. We've got it here on Discord. So it's doing that circle of death thing. Hopefully I can just click play and it'll start. So you read the first line and then I'll do the second and so on.
Sounds good.
Right.
Man with a Movie Camera.
A 6-reel record on film.
Produced by VUFKU in 1929.
Excerpt from a camera operator's diary.
Attention viewers.
This film is an experiment.
In cinematic communication.
Of real events.
Without the help of intertitles.
Without the help of a story.
Without the help of theatre.
This experimental work aims at creating a truly international language.
Of cinema based on its absolute separation.
From the language of theatre and literature.
Office supervisor. I didn't get to read the end of that.
Author, supervisor, experimenter, Dziga Vertov.
There we go.
There you go. So
Yeah.
That's a quick minute. There's not
Yeah.
really much to talk about.
Yeah, not much happened.
Yeah, it's just explaining the concept, and that's what we're doing with the podcast as well. So I've called this minute cinematic communication because I liked that line.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got in my notes here exactly what it said. So we can read that back. We don't need to watch it again because there's not much to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it says a 6-reel record on film. So do you know what it means by 6-reel?
I'm assuming the camera had 6 rails in it. I'm not fully sure on the terminology.
I think what it means is when you're showing a movie in the cinema, you have to play a certain amount of reels, and you change the reel. In modern, well, in the 70s and 80s, that modern,
Right.
they basically had maybe 2 or 3 reels to a movie, and you could see a little circle in the corner of the screen, which would tell you when the new reel comes in. So they basically play it. they kind of use tape to put the reels together, and you don't notice it really unless you see that little dot in the corner. So I think the idea is that there's roughly 10 minutes per reel, so he edited it to have 6 reels, and he would show the movie with 6 reels at a time. And maybe the next minute or a minute after that, we'll see a reel going into the projector, and show them starting up the projector, and so we'll get a better idea of what that is. But I think it means when the movie was finished, they had 6 reels to show, because I would imagine he would have had 60 at least, and he's edited down. If it's 10 minutes per reel, he must have had hundreds of different reels, and he's edited them to have 1 hour of footage.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Monumental work. What were you going to say there?
Oh, I said I can't even imagine. Like, that's just a lot of, like, both, time, but also now we can do that on our phones just instantly. That would be a lot of, like, physical containing, I suppose, of footage.
Yeah. Well, I just made a video of, it was a song that I wrote for my wife, and I made the video using old footage, which I found on an old tape like this, digital video tapes. And that's about an hour of footage on this little tape. But we don't even have these anymore. That was so difficult. You have to actually record it from the tape onto the computer. You can't just, take the file and dump it onto your computer. You actually have to sit through it and record it in real time. And of course I was doing that in private, so I wasn't even recording it onto a computer. I just put it on the TV and filmed it with my phone.
Yeah.
So, so even back in the early 2000s, the kind of everyday technology wasn't that great. It was just digital videotapes, and the quality wasn't so good. And then after that, we got a digital camcorder that just had a hard drive in it, so you could just take the file and just transfer it instantly to the computer. And that was a huge difference. But now, of course, you don't even need to do any of that. We just do. I basically make music videos on my phone, and this podcast, we're going to be doing it as a video, and we'll be doing all the recording and editing. We'll do some of the recording on the computers, but some of it will just be from the phone. It's amazing how much it's changed just in 20 years.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I've got a very early phone here. It's got a big chunky thing with a keyboard on it and everything. Run on Windows.
Right.
Yeah. I might show that in another episode. So, so that was a bit about the reels. That was the first line of the minute. So it was just basically saying it's an experiment, and he doesn't have any of the normal tropes of cinema. Intertitles. So back in the days of silent movies, they would have just a bit of text in between the moving images. You would just have a text to say what the person was saying, because you couldn't hear any of the voices.
Yeah,
So,
I remember. I remember we went to see a silent movie once, and it was a silent movie with like a band playing live.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was a 4-piece orchestra.
Yeah, right, and it had, I believe, intertitles in between, like the scenes.
Yeah, it was The General by Buster Keaton.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't remember the name.
Yeah, that's the one where he's on the train and he does all the stunts at the front of the train, throwing logs to get things out of the way and stuff. It's an amazing movie, and it was great to see it with the live orchestra as well.
Yeah.
And they did a short Laurel and Hardy film as well. That was really good. Yeah, I'd love to see more stuff like that. I know that they have, you get Star Wars movies with an orchestra and things like that. And, that can be quite expensive to go out for a night like that. But that was just in a pub. It was quite a cheap night out, just seeing a little movie and a band. It's good fun.
Yeah.
So we'll have to look out for more of them.
Yeah.
I'd also like to get Dan Golding on the podcast. He is, I'm not sure what he does exactly, but he's in the Melbourne Orchestra. I think they call it the Royal Melbourne Orchestra. And he's been on a few podcasts before, so it'd be good to get him on to talk about the movie and talk about what's going on in Melbourne with that kind of thing. So I'll reach out to him and see if he can come on.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. So so they didn't have that kind of thing in this movie. He just avoided any kind of storyline. But there is so much in just the images that he put together, the way that he tells a story without any words, without any real plot. It's just the way that he mixes two different images. It tells you a lot about what's going on in his head. So in every minute there will be a lot to talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
Even this one, just with the text, it tells you a lot.
I was gonna ask about the acronym VUFK, I believe. I noticed it.
VUFKU.
Right.
Yeah, that stands for, I've got it here, the Vyse Ukrainske Fotokino Upravlenia.
Right.
Which means the All-Ukrainian Photo Cinema Administration. Yeah, so that would have been like a government department. It was the Soviet Union at the time. So, I mean, you know a little bit about the Russian Revolution and the Soviet Union.
Tiny bit, yeah.
Yep. You know most of it from that video about Tetris, don't you?
Right, yeah. There was a song I think you showed me where it was like the entire history of the USSR or something like that, over the Tetris theme song. And yeah.
It's a really funny video. I'd love to see that again, actually.
Yeah,
I'll
it's
probably
quite
watch
good.
it after this. Yeah, it's great, and it's a good tune.
Yeah.
It gets stuck in your head, and the words they put into it are just perfect. So that was a government department in the Soviet Union, so I imagine that they would have put their stamp of approval on all films. And that department ran from 1922 until 1930, so it was just after this film was made. I've seen a few comments on this movie saying that it's propaganda, but I imagine no matter what you put out at that time, and it's still the same to a certain extent today, if you've got something going out and it's got to have the stamp of approval, like for instance putting out something on the BBC, it's got to fit in with what the BBC believe in. Otherwise they just won't show it. So most mainstream media is propaganda to a certain extent. And you can argue about how worse that was in the Soviet Union or how bad it is today, but we won't go into all that kind of politics.
Yeah.
We'll try to avoid politics as much as we can while talking about a movie that was made in the Ukraine. So obviously it's a hot topic at the moment.
Yeah.
So I planned to do this podcast. I've been talking about it for about 5 years. You must be sick of me talking about it. But yes, I planned to do it long before the war in the Ukraine started. So I did think about it for a while. Should I still go ahead with it, or should I just leave it? But I think as long as we're sending out a message of of peace and love for people, then we can talk about stuff that goes on in Ukraine, in history, or stuff that's going on today, without getting too political and making big arguments about it. We'll just
Yeah, definitely.
keep out of that kind of thing. So that's the main things about the text, I think. One thing I wanted to say as well is because in Russian, that group of languages, I don't think they have articles, so they never say the or a. So you hear that when they speak English, they'll often miss out the and a. They'll just say a sentence without articles. So when it's been translated, the name of the film is sometimes The Man with the Movie Camera, or it could be The Man with a Movie Camera, or A Man with the Movie Camera. So there are lots of different versions, but we'll just stick to Man with a Movie Camera.
Yeah.
Make it simple. Or if we want to do the short version, we'll just call it MWAMC. MWAMC.
MWAMC.
And of course, Man with a Music Minute is MWAM.
Yeah, that's a lot easier.
Yeah. So we'll see how mixed up we get with that. Because the few times I've tried recording things for the podcast, I often get mixed up with is the podcast the movie camera or the music minute one?
Yeah.
I'm sure by the time we get to the 60th episode, I'll know it off by heart.
Yeah.
So we've got 67 minutes to get through.
Right.
But and you'll be the co-host, but you're quite busy with all your drama things and your schoolwork and everything, so
Definitely.
we'll see how it goes. There's no pressure to do it all the time.
Yeah, so I'll just fill in if there's not a specific guest that week, or if anything happens.
Yeah, or if you really want to speak to the guest,
Yeah.
you just want to help out and join in the chat, then you're more than welcome.
Awesome.
Yeah. So so we were talking about music videos. We were talking about the Tetris music videos just there.
Mm.
So we're going to be talking about your favourite music video. But before we do that, each week we're going to have a section on this new app that I love, which I've made all of the jingles and the intro and everything. I've made all of that. Actually, no, not all of it. I've made the jingle for this bit, then the jingle for the music video part. I've made them in this app called Jam Pro, and it's a new app from Coldcut and Ninja Tune. So each week I'm going to be going through the app and explaining how I'm learning to use it. So that's coming up now. Introducing Jam Pro by Coldcut and Ninja Tune. By George, even podcasts prove. Pump up the volume, pump up the volume, swipe that screen. 1, 2, 3, ha! Hi, and welcome to the Jam Pro feature for Man with a Music Minute. Each week I'm going to be discussing the Jam Pro app and showing you how I'm learning to use it, because it's only been out for a few weeks and I'm really just beginning to learn the basics. So this is the app itself. I'm just looking at the matrix part of it at the moment. It's just a small part. Basically, it has these 4 channels, and you can select which little square you're playing at a time. So I'll play you what I've got so far. I'm just making the intro for this feature. So I'll press play. So you can hear the hi-hat there. And then I've got the beats, the bass kick and the snare, if you like. And then I've got some popping sounds, which is kind of emulating the bongos. And then I've got the voice. I'm not too happy with the voice there, so I'm going to re-record that. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go over here to the mode. I just need to check how many bars is it going to record. Well, first of all, you've got recording out and sampling in. So you want to either record the music that you've made here out to a different file, or you can record it out to a separate part of this app. So you're recording out, or you can sample in either something like a musical instrument, or I'm just going to be sampling my voice. So that's sampling in. I also want to check how many bars is it going to sample. You've got the maximum bars here. It's set at 1 at the moment, but this part is going to be 8 bars long. So it will stop recording at exactly 8 bars, and then it will play it back automatically. So that's set up. The other thing I've got set up is this part here. It's called pre-roll, and I've set it to 1 bar. It'll beep a few times to tell me when to start recording. So I've only got it set to 1 bar, but you can select it to 2 or 4 as well. There we go. So I'll go back to the matrix. That's a little bit bigger. And to record, all you need to do is you press, well, first of all, I'll play it so that I can hear. I just want to listen to the first 2. And then I'll record. I won't record over the last one that I did. I'll record a new one here. And to record in that one, you just double tap. Introducing Jam Pro by Cold Cut and Ninja Tune. I got the timing way out there, so it's 7. Nope, that didn't work. Try again. Introducing Jam Pro by Cold Cut and Ninja Tune. Let's see how that sounds. Okay, I'll try that a few more times and then I'll get it right. Then I'll add a few more samples on the end, and that'll be the whole clip finished. Sounds like a record stopping. Okay, so that's my first example of how to use Jam Pro. It's an amazing app. This is just the basic start with the matrix here. If you go into play, you can see that the matrix is just a small part of it. You've also got your stabs, you've got your effects, and other filters and things you can put on top of it. This is you use your 2 fingers to make these effects, and then you've got all sorts of other things you can do to it. They're preset effects that chop up the sounds. It's just amazing the amount of things you can do just with the tunes that are already in there. It's just incredible. So that's my introduction. So every week I'll be talking about Jam Pro and showing you how much I'm learning, because there's so much to learn. Okay.
Welcome back.
And now we're back from the Jam Pro. I hope you like that bit. And now we're going to talk about Dylan's favourite music video.
Right.
So I'm not sure what this is going to be.
Yeah. I'll just talk a bit about it while you set it all up. Favorite music video is a hard one for me because it changes weekly. But at the moment, I'm really into the StarKid or Team StarKid musicals, which are all on YouTube for free to see. And so I just selected one of my favorite songs from the guy who didn't like musical. Because yeah, it's just one of my favorites.
Yeah. So you've told me about this, and I saw the start of it, and then fell asleep because I was so tired.
Yeah.
I'm an old man. So I've seen the start of it. It's basically just a stage musical, isn't it?
Yeah, like it was just recorded as if you're in the audience, with different camera angles, but it's not a big like Hamilton production or yeah, it's just like well, I forget the term for it, but I don't know, just theater.
Just you.
Yep, okay.
And me.
Okay, then we can just watch it now.
And Steve.
And talk about it.
And Stu. And Mark and Leighton. And Chad.
Awesome, I think that's
That's the end of that number. I don't think he'll be doing much more singing.
Yeah. Actually, when they turn into zombies, they sing more.
Oh, right, okay.
But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm not a big musicals fan myself, so it's funny to see a musical about musicals. And
yeah.
So what makes you love this one over other musicals you've seen?
Oh, I think just the comedy, like it's partly making fun of musicals. Like not fully, but like the whole thing is the main character hates musicals, so it's kind of I don't know.
And the main character was the guy that came in and saved them at the end.
Yeah, right. You didn't get to see much of how he acts and stuff, but like I don't know if you saw like Ted. Oh, I don't know. You don't know who Ted is in the back, but one of the hostages basically. Ted just enjoyed the musical, the song the entire time, which is just the type of humor that is.
And he's the guy that said Chad, and he was like,
yeah.
Here, Chad. I had Chad in my head as well, and I was waiting for it to come up. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's a very meta kind of, that song specifically, because it's the way that he is so flamboyant and so over the top, and it's kind of making fun of how musicals are so. This is what I've always. Hate is a strong word, but the reason I was put off musicals when I was younger is because it's so fake and it's so over the top and flamboyant, and the typical one I can think of is West Side Story, and it's supposed to be these hard gang members who are going around with knives stabbing each other, but they're all clicking their fingers and dancing around it. It's just that contrast between them being tough but dancing and doing these kind of similar to the moves that he was doing there, just silly dance moves. It's just it didn't speak to me when I was growing up. But
yeah, that's something that sets this musical apart. Is all the songs in it are I can't remember. It's like a word I learned like in year 8. But is it? Not eidetic, is it? Where the song is actually in the like media, as opposed to no, I don't think it's eidetic. But like there's two types of like songs in TV shows and movies and stuff. One that the characters can hear and one that they can't. Do you remember the words for that?
The word for that, it's it'll come to me. It's diegetic.
Diegetic. So all of these songs are diegetic. Like the main character points out, like in the first song when
Yeah.
we don't know what's going. Well, the second one. The first song that the main character encounters, he's just baffled by all these people just beginning to sing and dance in public, and it's just a strange fear to turn into like a story. Like with zombie apocalypse movies, it makes sense to be afraid, and like in this one, it does make sense, but it's just such a weird concept to choose as your story. But yeah, I love it.
It sounds like me because I didn't really like musicals, but the thing I didn't like about them is the fact that it's so weird to have people just talking away and then all of a sudden they're singing for no reason.
Yeah.
And nobody seems to notice. But this one is different because this guy does notice and he doesn't like the fact that everyone around him is singing all of a sudden. So that's more realistic to me. It's like, So I'm going to watch the whole thing and see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was loving the whole of that song. And the whole fact that he was being all flamboyant and doing his singing style as well was just so over the top, and the way he moved about and stuff.
It's also like he began as such a serious character, so you lose a lot of like the build up with just watching this one clip, but like he was not too serious. Like he had jokes and stuff. Like his introduction, I loved. I won't spoil it for you, but it's just even the beginning of the song is so different to when he sings the song about the song he made. Like it's a lot of layers, but like he made a musical inside of this musical, and when he starts singing a song from that musical, it becomes even more, what's the word, flamboyant? No,
that's the
flamboyant. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's just, I think I picked the longest song. I'm not sure about that, but yeah,
that's all right. We're gonna cut it out anyways. That's okay.
Yeah. This song was probably a bad example to pick. I just picked it because I liked it, but like, all the other ones are, well, firstly, have the main character in it. Well, not singing, but like witnessing it. And this one didn't. And the other ones show the absurdity of and like the fear, how scary, weirdly enough, it is. Like for the main character. This one, didn't encapsulate that, if that's the word. But like, if you do end up watching the full thing, it is quite a good musical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love things like that are meta, and that fits in well with Man with a Movie Camera, because the way that it's talking about itself and talking about the idea of being in a musical and not liking musicals, it's very clever.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, and like it's got the chaotic energy of a drama group just making something they enjoy, which I just love.
One thing I noticed is that it's very minimal. They don't have many props. The stage, the set behind them is very basic. It's just the colours and a few black lines, and that's it. But you don't need any more than that. You can use your imagination for the things that they're doing with their hands. They're miming stuff. He was using his hand to pretend to be a phone, and you can do so much just with mime. You don't need more than that.
Yeah, I just remembered like the end bit. Like this entire musical is really meta, and they add that in there just like normal jokes, like the whole "should I grab this chair?" Yeah, and I'll grab the piano to change sets.
Yeah.
Is just like a really creative way to,
Yeah.
yeah, transition.
Yeah, it's pointing out how ridiculous it is that you would grab a chair as
Yeah,
you're escaping from a hostage situation. Yeah,
yeah,
just grab the chair and piano and run out.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really
They have quite a few musicals, but like the kind of follow-up to this one, which was set in the same universe, basically, like I won't get into the lore because it's quite um oh, I forgot the word. But yeah, no, it's quite intricate, I suppose. But
Mhm.
they make a, I guess, callback, and they do a similar thing with like boxes, I guess. Like I'll grab these boxes. It's just and in that play, they've got like a whole bunch of callbacks. It's weird because
It's like a
sorry,
running
I
gag, I think is what you would call it.
yeah,
So it's
but
the same joke, but in different contexts.
the thing is, it's not an out of world thing. Well, I guess it is. Like it is. Oh, it's hard to talk about without going so deep into the lore, but like
Mhm.
it's kind of I'll explain the basic gist of the two musicals. Like there's an apocalypse in this town of Hatchetfield, I believe. And every time the main characters fail to or like anyone fails to save everyone, it's a time loop. It resets and um yeah, it's hard not to spoil anything, but in the second one, they talk about the time resetting, and like the last song is um about like waiting for tomorrow and then potentially not coming. Um, so yeah, it's really fun to just delve into theories, but I'll leave it at that. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, thanks for showing me that.
all good.
I'm going to have a list of all the music videos that we talk about. I've already mentioned a couple
Mm,
in here. I might put a little sound effect in every time we mention the music video.
right.
And it'll be in the show notes, all the links to the videos we talk about every week.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's great. First podcast is made.
awesome. That's
Excellent.
the end.
Yeah. So next week we're going to be swapping round. You're going to be interviewing me, and then after that we're going to have real guests,
Yeah,
and we'll see who we get as the first guest. It might be a big name. Well, a big name for
yeah,
me anyway. We'll see how it goes. Okay.
yeah.
Well,
See you all
thanks.
next week.
Yep. Thanks for doing this with me, Dylan, and thanks to all of you for listening.